Hi, I'm R. Blank, the CEO of Shield Your Body and the host of the Healthier Tech Podcast, the podcast about finding a healthier relationship with modern technology. This season, I'm excited to bring you a set of interviews exploring issues around disconnecting. A growing number of people are realizing that the constant connectivity enabled by our phones and devices, and sometimes demanded by our jobs and families, comes at a cost to our health, both our mental health and our physical health, which is why disconnecting is so important. So this season, I'll be interviewing a member of the EU Parliament about the right to disconnect, which is considered a fundamental human right in Europe, a former congressional staffer about the US regulatory process, and an activist about her experience achieving meaningful change.
Normally, I always felt this pressure to reply the same day if it was even just a casual catch-up with friends. And now it's like, even if I reply in 3 days, like it's no worries. Like it really resets your relationship with how you use your device, and yeah, it's a big win for sure.
I'll be interviewing someone who runs a detox retreat in Bali and another guest who has been through that detox retreat, and more. In other words, this season is going to be a fantastic and informative exploration of disconnecting. Remember to subscribe to the Healthier Tech Podcast, and let's dive in. Before we begin, a brief word. This podcast is brought to you by my company, Shield Your Body, where it is our mission to help make technology safer for you and your loved ones to enjoy. Inspired by the life's work of my father, Dr. Martin Blank, one of the world's leading EMF scientists, I founded Shield Your Body in 2012, and we provide a ton of great and free resources for you to learn all about EMF radiation, like articles, ebooks, webinars, and videos. And we also have a world-class catalog of laboratory-tested EMF and 5G protection products. From our phone pouch and laptop pad, all the way up to our bed canopy. All of our products are laboratory tested and include a lifetime warranty. Learn more about our products and why we have hundreds of thousands of satisfied customers around the world at shieldyourbody.com. That's shieldyourbody, all one word, .com, or click the link in the show notes and use promo code POD to save 15% on your first order with free shipping throughout North America, the UK, and Europe. Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, Yannick. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, thanks for having me. Awesome.
So could you, before we get into the main topic here, could you give my listeners just a little bit of background about, your daily life, not the part of your life, not going to the retreats that we're going to be talking about, but, just who you are.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Yannick. I'm 26 years old. I have an online business where I sell a range of products. I sell sneakers, clothing, and just household products, wellness products. And so I'm using my computer a lot, my phone a lot. So yeah, I'm always interested in optimizing my health by refraining from using digital devices, but also making use of them by online entrepreneurship.
So okay, so that I love that. That I think we're going to get into some good discussions here on some of the thinking and the trade-offs around that. So, you're in e-commerce. It's so it sounds like you use your tech, a fair amount.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you're on your phone a lot. Your main job is on the computer. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So at what point in this process did you think, because I don't know your personal process of discovery here. At what point in the process did you come to think that, maybe there needed to be some balance struck in your relationship with technology?
This point came when I would wake up every day, and first thing I did was just grab for my phone, check for notifications if I sold something, or just that, like instantly going into this like stress mode, or sometimes like, hey, I made a super nice sale. It's a great way to start my day, or like, shit, I didn't sell that much today. So then I was like, do I really want to start my morning like this? Like, it's like a gamble, because every day can be different when you open your notifications. And then I was like, maybe I should just wake up like a normal human being without technology and take it more easy. And after that, doing that for a while, I felt way better in the morning, more peaceful, more tranquil. And then I was like, I want more of this. So I did more research on YouTube, and yeah, basically that.
So this whole process started not with you going to a retreat. It started with you just putting some limits and enforcing them in your own daily life and behaviors, is what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like, uh, I got inspired by people on YouTube that are into like optimizing your discipline and productivity. But then I was like, yeah, it's time to apply it to my own life and not just watch what other people are doing. So, but I'm a pretty ambitious like nerd when it comes to like this kind of stuff. So once I got the hang of it, I felt really great, and then I started going back into the bad habit of like being more out of control with my phone use and my device use. Then I just bought like a kitchen safe. It's like uh, actually a safe with a time lock on it. So I put my phone in there sometimes for like 4 hours, beginning of the morning, sometimes even like 24 hours, just to reset my reset my dopamine levels, because it's so addicting. Like there's always some news for you on that device. So it's like if I can do it myself all the time, if I don't have enough discipline, I like to use tools like that.
So when you said, you started making these changes in your daily regimen and it made you feel great, like what are some of the changes that you're talking about when it made you feel like, what did you realize happening in yourself that made you feel better?
First of all, I felt like more peaceful because obviously when you're not using your phone, you're focusing on something. Maybe it's work or just cleaning, or it can be everything, but you feel way more focused because when you made the promise to yourself, like I'm not going to use my phone for an hour or whatever time frame you want, um, then there's no possibility of you checking your phone. So I don't know, like in the back of your head, for me personally, it gives me like yeah, some rest, because there's always something going on at the device. It's like endless machine.
Yeah, no, totally. So what do you do when actually, before we get to that, when you put your phone in this safe for a time, are you able to get it out sooner than the time, or is that really fully enforced?
Yeah, I made sure to buy one that it's not possible to get it out before the time. So and then I'm like, it's 100% sure I'll be safe from using it, because I'm not that big of an addict that I'm gonna throw and like break this thing and try to get it out. Like, of course, if there's an emergency, but that's the thing I really realized during the journey of like more discipline with my device use, is there are almost no real emergencies. Like every time after I open my phone, after 24 hours no phone or half a day no phone, there was never like a real emergency. Of course, maybe sometimes some people need your help, but it's never like, oh, somebody died, or like, and you can still have it like, you can still tell people like, hey, I'm doing a detox for 24 hours. If there's something really serious going on, send me, or just come to my house, or you can always make a backup plan. It's not like the end of the world if you don't have your phone for 24 hours. So
Yeah, no, totally agreed. So in these periods, I mean, maybe 24 hours is a different case than 1 hour or 4 hours. But so let's start with the shorter ones. With these shorter periods where you force yourself to not have your phone accessible, what is it that you did
most of the
instead?
time, it's things I've been putting off for a long time. So maybe it's some. I use the safe mainly for my phone, because the phone for me is the biggest devil, so to say. uh, so when I put it in, I'll do something I dislike or put off for a long time, like maybe do some accounting for my business, or sometimes even simple things like do the dishes or do some cleaning, just some stuff that like it's way easier to just, when you know you should do the dishes, just take out your phone and you have a good feeling of dopamine. Like it's so easy to put stuff off like that.
And how often would you engage in these, well, let's call it phone fasts?
Yeah, that's a good one. It depends. Like it depends on my level of like discipline, I guess. But I think it's like weekly, sometimes daily. It depends on how much work and focus I need. Like if I catch myself like being like lazy and on my phone a lot, then I like get myself together and and say like, yeah, just use it safe and you'll be fine after. So I use it weekly, but sometimes even daily if I'm really like very serious about like a work goal, or maybe I want to get back in going to the gym more, like very important stuff to me, then it's daily. But sometimes I don't even use it for like a month. It depends on the goal and situation, but it's such a good tool for me personally.
So you and I were introduced by AJ, who is also on the podcast this season, and my understanding is you were at the retreat in Bali. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was very correct.
You sound like that brought up some very nice memories.
Yeah, it was the most peaceful I've ever felt, because obviously the rules was 10 days, no phone, no, not even physical communication. So it was a good mix for sure.
So so let's get into some of the learnings that you had from that experience, right? Because that's obviously I don't know if extreme is the right word, but it's a more extreme detox than this daily or monthly one that you were just talking about. So you weren't allowed. You say you weren't allowed to touch your phone for 10 days. I assume that also included computers.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, and obviously you were doing a lot of other stuff at that retreat, because it does sound kind of amazing. But when it comes to technology, what was your experience, during the detox? And again, specifically around the relationship with technology, by not using it for that period of time. What did you learn about your relationship with technology?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that my relationship with technology was pretty bad actually. Like, of course, I was doing all these small phone fasts before, but still, after and during that retreat, I realized that I was still pretty attached and addicted to this device. Um, yeah, it was very eye opening, because you notice that when you don't use it for a while, like extended periods, just like the retreat, that you're like completely fine without it, and you actually feel way better, because there's actually time for your thoughts to come to you without even the unpleasant thoughts will come up, but also you get great ideas, because your mind is like, you remember when you were like a child and you got bored, and then you were like, oh, let's build a tree house, let's do this, let's, like, you get super spontaneous. But because you're always bombarded with emails and messages and notifications, like, it's hard for your brain to come up to get bored, because it's the moment people or I feel bored, you can just reach to your pocket and have like a nice dopamine hit or whatever. So that was one of the biggest benefits. You get so many great ideas. You learn a lot about yourself, about your thought patterns, the things you think about yourself or the world. So I think that's the biggest win from the digital detox at the retreat.
Was there a point in that 10 days where you noticed, like I assume towards the start, there are some times where you're like, oh, let me get my phone. And then you remember you don't have it. And then I assume as the week went on, those became fewer and fewer. Did you experience that? Did they ever go away?
Yeah, they definitely went away. They definitely went away. And at the beginning, it was like, felt like rehab a little bit. um, but it was very cool because the thing is, like I said, you get a lot of great ideas, a lot of great insights. And at one point, I was just like so enthusiastic about sharing them with my friends, but I couldn't text them obviously because there was no phones allowed. So I started like picking up good habits like writing and journaling again. So it was like a big win for sure.
So once that retreat was over, what how did you feel like when you touched your phone for the first time?
Oh man, it was so different from how it how that experience normally is, because normally, to be honest, I would just open my mail and be a bit stressed because maybe somebody wants money from me, or I forget to pay an invoice, or maybe I got a lot of money from someone. But usually I attach my email to like more important stressful messages, I guess.
Totally.
And with like WhatsApp, for example, like I noticed I would always hold my breath before I opened WhatsApp because maybe I forgot about something, or maybe I want to feel like loved, or because yeah, your friends and family are on WhatsApp if you use it. And that was like such a big contrast after the retreat, because after retreat, after the retreat, I opened my WhatsApp, for example, and I felt like so peaceful. Like I felt like whatever message would come in would be fine. Would just handle it without stress. And normally, I always felt this pressure to reply the same day if it was even just a casual catch up with friends. And now it's like, even if I reply in 3 days, like it's no worries. Like it really resets your relationship with how you use your device. And yeah, it's a big win for sure.
So then, yeah, how did so that was like turning on your phone for the first time. Then moving forward in the next few weeks, what what changes did you notice in your relationship with your phone and the resulting mental state?
Um,
Like, did you use your phone differently after the retreat than before the retreat? Did you use it, more or less? Did you feel more focused in your intent? What were there changes?
yeah, I definitely use it less at the beginning. The beginning, it was like I was like, yeah, I really like this piece, man. Like, I don't want to have this piece quotation mark ruined by the phone and all the notifications. So I kept the phone use low. But the funny thing that was happening was, once I was using it more, um, like normally if I would go on WhatsApp and I would have like, just an example, like 20 unread messages, I would be like, okay, let's reply to everyone, etc., etc. But now it was like I became way more strategic, like way more conscious, like because there was less stress. So it's like, maybe I should reply to people that want something from my business first, then to family, and then to just a random order. But and normally it was just like all very like triggered by stress, like, oh, business first, family after. Like now is way more control. But the funny thing is, like, after a couple months, I was back to square one, or how do you say it, square zero?
Yeah, square one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to stay conscious of your use, because then I found myself like waking up again, grabbing my phone. So it's a constant process. But when I step out of the the heavy use is like always. I always say to myself like, why didn't I do this earlier? It's so good.
So in that process, have you because you went through the detox and then you came out and then you were describing, sort of sliding back a little bit as time went on into your habits. Do you, other than locking your phone in an inaccessible safe, do you have other strategies to help make to maintain the mindfulness in your use of your phone and perhaps other devices?
Yeah, definitely. Like personally, I use an iPhone, but I when I open my phone, there is like a option to put your screen time on your background first thing after you unlock your phone. So that always reminds me like, oh, today I was already using my phone for 2 hours. Maybe that's a bit more than I wanted to, because it's so easy to just like get stuck in this routine of just opening your phone, going to WhatsApp, going to Facebook or whatever, and then never really assessing like how much actual time did I spend on my device. So that's one thing I like just that reminder as soon as you open your phone, like the screen time widget being there. And
That's a great one. Yeah.
yeah, I like that one. And also when I'm not like super addicted, I I turn off my phone before I go to bed, and then I just put my phone on the other side of the room. So it's like more steps to just look at your phone, because when it's next to you on your nightstand, it's not even on airplane mode or whatever, or
Oh, yeah. Don't get me
turned
started on
off.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, for the radiation and stuff, it's important, but
Yeah.
um, the step is like so easy to just tap your finger on screen and you're back into this digital world, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I do, which doesn't get you, well, it's just a small step. But one thing I do is as soon as I consider it sort of nighttime, like not just after work, but maybe after dinner, and then throughout the whole weekend, I put my phone into do not disturb mode, um, which means I get no notifications at all, which means people can't reach me. So sometimes, they can be a little annoyed by it. But I found that disabling all notifications on my phone has really helped address issues of anxiety from the phone.
Wow, yeah, that's a powerful one. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it totally it's like a hammer because you can't, you're silencing all of them. But I mean, it really it helps me kind of create my personal space, I guess. So stepping back a little bit there, and I don't know, how much of this you use, but one of the questions that I talked about with AJ was it had to do with right, because it's a digital detox. Digital detox is part of the retreat, but then he
Yes.
also makes use of health tracking tech in the retreat, and it was this discussion about sort of balancing, digital detox with actually using technology to optimize the detox experience. Did you make use of any of that sort of technology when you were there?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
use sleep tracking devices, but I chose to be like 100% naked during the during this retreat. Like no devices, but that's actually cool. I might do that the next time.
So do you use any of that in real life? Any of that type of technology?
Yes, I use an Aura ring for sleep tracking.
Okay. So you wear that every night
Yes,
or
almost every night.
all day? Because I know some people wear their auras all day.
No, I don't use it during the day. I just like to keep it just for sleep.
And has the Oura Ring? And I talked to a lot of people, by the way, who use the Oura Ring and really like that product. What have you found from your experience with that product?
I really like it. It's, for me personally, the biggest thing I like about it is that it like kind of gamifies your sleep. Like always when I wear it, I feel like, and I check the stats and whatever, I feel like more motivated to turn my phone on do not disturb or something, like, or just make sure I don't use devices 1 hour before I sleep, or turn off the lights, dim the lights. Like, for me, it motivates me, but I feel like there's also a downside about using this, because I feel like when I check my sleep stats in the morning and they're not that good, I I feel like I'm also having more thoughts during the day, like, oh, I slept bad, even though I didn't, like, I don't know how to say it properly, but I feel like I take it too seriously, because sometimes you had a bad night of sleep, but you still feel great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do know what you mean. Sometimes, actually, if I try to get 8 hours, but sometimes if I wake up after 5, even if I'm a little tired, I can feel much more productive during the day. And I haven't figured out what it is about me that makes me feel that way. So, how do you view an aura as, like, because you obviously you have a certain view of your phone. Do you view your Aura Ring as a kind of tech that from which you might need, to take a break or to focus on the nature of your relationship?
Yeah, definitely. I did it, to be honest, I did it unintentionally, unintentionally, because I was traveling a lot, and then at one point I just got lazy and I forgot to put it on before I went to bed, and then I kind of stopped doing it for a while. And then I realized how nice it is to also listen to your intuition in the morning, like, did I actually sleep good, instead of basing it off the sleep stats, which I was doing before, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what is it in, how do I ask? Because you clearly think a lot about your relationship with technology. You think it's important to use technology. You also think it's important to take a break from technology. How would you say describes your approach to technology, the role it should play in your life?
That's a good question. I like to think as it of this, like, as in a, or like a quote. As much as technology can empower you, it can also destroy you. It may sound a bit dramatic, but like, uh, so I like to keep balance. I like to remind me of myself of that. And but to be honest, it's pretty hard. Like a couple of weeks, I'm super disciplined, and then it's like always like very calm mornings, and before nighttime, like no devices. But then a couple of days later, I'm back to the square one. So, yeah.
So you're talking again about disabling your phone or making it accessible for periods at night, or maybe perhaps on the weekend. What does this do? Other people in your life, kind of understand that that's what you do, or have you gotten pushback, maybe from relatives or friends who were saying, why couldn't I reach you?
Um, to be honest, I'm very lucky that people always let me do my thing. They're not very concerned when I don't reply for maybe a couple hours or a day, because I used to be like that with replying, always. Like, I'm not very, I don't like to be very reachable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. You're talking, preaching to the choir.
Because of course there are exceptions, like if something important in private lives going on or business, but I feel like if you always like constantly, like I know like so many people, they're they're so accessible, so reachable that all the people around them get used to it. Like they're used to, if I send this and this person a message, I'll probably get a reply in 5 or 10 minutes. But I don't want to be perceived as that person, because then it's just going to be a letdown for them. So I just, to be honest, I do it for myself because I don't. I like to control my energy, and if you're always replying to people, always online, always connected, I think you lose this sense of control. Unless you have so much energy, which sometimes I'm a bit jealous of people that can be on their phone and laptop all day and always on calls, always messaging without getting drained. But I don't think it's my style
Oh
personally.
yeah, no, I'm not jealous of those people at all. But I'm jealous of people with tons of energy, but not who use it that way. So it sounds like you've trained the people in your life just through your behavior to have certain expectations, so that when you throw your phone in a safe for 24 hours, no one's terribly surprised.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also helps to just not tell them, to be honest. So,
So yeah, I mean, one of the things I find really interesting in your story is because I hear about and from people who go through digital detox, but a lot of I don't hear from many people responsible for running a business doing it for extended periods of time, because when you're running a business, the business relies on you. And I know you said earlier, and this quote really stuck out, and I'm pretty sure Stephanie and I are going to talk about it later in the wrap for the episode. But you said there are almost no real emergencies, but at the same time,
yeah.
running a business, it might not be an emergency, but something can be really important without being an emergency. So how how do you balance that the mindset of hustle with the mindset of silence?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest, that's something I'm still working on because, like, for example, if employees need you, like right now, because the website is crashing and you're going to miss a ton of sales, like, that's something that's a nightmare for most entrepreneurs, I think. So, yeah, that's the reason why I do most of my entrepreneurship solo, so I can be in control of these moments of peace and silence without my devices. But yeah, that's a good question. That makes me think, to be honest.
Well, so how earlier we talked about the frequency with which you do these. I guess we'll call them the mini fasts as opposed to the extended detox. It sounds like you really want to go back and do another one of those detoxes, though.
Yeah, for real. I miss it a lot. And yeah.
For someone who's never been through one, what would you say in terms of, what could you say to help set their expectations, and then why would you encourage them to do it?
Um, yeah, as in expectations, I think you should expect having thoughts like, hey, I came up with this idea, or hey, I should fix this and this. I should probably text my friend. But then you're like, oh, but I can't text. Like, you really start to analyze your thoughts more consciously, and then um, you get way more insight in how your thought patterns are working. And maybe, like, I didn't have this problem personally, but maybe for someone else, it can be like, oh, maybe I'm too concerned about this type of opinion of someone, or like personally, I had like just a handful of people I wanted to reach out in my mind, like, oh, I want to send this friend a message. I want to send my mom a message, for example. And then I realized like, oh, that probably means like you get so many insights. Basically, it's like a constant stream of insights instead of notifications from your phone. Yeah.
So and you would strongly encourage people to at least try. So obviously flying to Bali and going to AJ's retreat isn't practical for everybody, but you gave examples of the what we're calling these mini fasts as a good starting point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good that you brought that up, because I think it's not for everyone to do like such an extreme retreat, but for some people it works more to be like more gentle. So maybe just 1 hour no phone, or maybe even 30 minutes. Like it's just about about stepping out of this routine of always being connected. And yeah, even for me, like sometimes even too big of a step to do half a day no phone, because I know it will be too much. Like then I'll just promise myself to do 1 hour or just put it in the safe. So it depends on the person. I think being gentle is also good, but not being too gentle, because if you're too gentle, you probably don't do any mini fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah. So you got to feel that you're doing it, but you don't have to overdo it, I guess, is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing you say. Yeah.
exactly.
And what I'm also hearing you say is that this is a sort of a lifelong effort, right? It's not like you just go to a detox and then it's done and you've detoxed, because once that's over, you still have to come back to real life and you still have to reestablish boundaries and balances and behaviors with all of these devices, and over time those lines blur again, and so it's kind of it helps reset your perspective, but it's never a completed process, is what I'm hearing you describe.
Yes, that's very true. But I would like to say a big event, like a longer detox of a device, like not a mini fast. So let's say maybe half a day or a day or even a couple days. For me personally, it like truly changed my relationship with my phone. Like now I'm always remembered of how good that felt. And some people never did an intentional detox of their devices. And I think just getting one longer detox in can truly change like your relationship with a device. Like, and then you're probably more prone to do it more after.
That's great. Yeah, no. So, and just as to wrap this up, I'm wondering if it might be possible for you to give a little more detail on when you say, because I think it's inspirational, but it's also insightful, right? What you say an extended detox can really change your relationship with your phone. What changes?
Um, the biggest thing that changes for me is that, yeah, you remember that feeling when you're like scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, and you kind of catch yourself like mindlessly scrolling and like clicking on a bunch of stuff and being very curious or bored or whatever. And but you kind of do it on autopilot. And the thing that happened for me is like that barely happens anymore. Like before it used to happen all the time, but now it's like you get way more conscious because you stepped out of your normal way of using your phone, and then you can see it with a helicopter view because you aren't using it. And then when you come back, you realize all these like unconscious habits you have. Like maybe you keep clicking on people's uh, stories or people's in the comments, and then you're like, but now you're like way more conscious. Like, why am I actually curious? And why did I come on this app in the first place? Wasn't I supposed to do research or text someone on this app? And you get way more conscious. Like, it's very addicting. It's so cool.
Who
Yeah.
am I? Why am I here? Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, Yannick, thank you so much for coming on the Healthier Tech podcast and sharing your experience. I really appreciate having the opportunity to have you to share this, because this is something I feel, and I'm really glad that you talked also about the these what you and I were talking about as Minifasts, because those are the kinds of things that are, you know, actionable within reach of most people a lot of the time. But then also the insights of your experience going through a real extended digital detox, because I think that is I think that's a valuable perspective as more and more people start to realize that their relationships with technology maybe aren't what they want them to be. So I really appreciate you coming on the show to share your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love this show, man. Like, I think it's a good cause for sure.
Thank you so much, man. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Stephanie. Stephanie, that I really enjoyed that interview. What did you think?
Yeah, I absolutely loved hearing Yannick's experience and perspective with digital detox. It struck me when he first started the interview that he's 26, and I immediately thought, wow, he's probably most of his life has probably been with phones, with with smartphones and the like. And so it's really nice to hear his awareness of the addictive qualities of our phones,
Yeah,
and
that's
how easy it is to get on autopilot and create some of these like bad habits that we get into just automatically.
yeah, that's a good point. I totally actually didn't put two and two together when I was talking to him about his age and what that meant for his upbringing around all this technology. You know, and I actually called it out during the interview itself, but one of the lines that really stood out, and it reminds me of a line from last season from Dr. Deborah Davis, but he said there are almost no real emergencies. And Deborah had said, life is not an emergency. And both of those, hearing that, it helps you kind of put things into a type of perspective that this constant notification stream sort of hypnotizes you into thinking that life is a nonstop emergency. But in reality, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that we talked about this a little bit in the last season too about a tech addiction. It's that, and Yannick brought this up, the dopamine hit. So, and, we talked about how a lot of the services and companies that have apps on our phones, they want you on all the time. So there's this constant stream of notifications. There's a constant stream of busyness, and it does create this false sense that everything is really important. And I absolutely loved it when he said that there are almost no real emergencies, because it's true. I do believe that we have a false sense of emergency when we're constantly bombarded by information and data, and everything is a click away. Every passing thought we can look up on Google. If we want to waste time, or we're not not motivated or focused to do what it is we need to do, there's a place we can just right in our hands where we can fill that space, where we can distract ourselves, where we can get that dopamine hit, especially if it's like time to do the dishes or something we don't want to do. There's something there. We have this device that will take us out of that, take us away from that need. And I think it's
Yeah. So he talked about a few times through the episode. He talked about, this notion of control, that after a detox, he feels way more control, and that
focus.
as much as technology can empower you, it can destroy you. So you need to you really need to enforce control over it. And but I gotta say, one of the enforcement mechanisms that he described, I thought was great, but also kind of hysterical, which is the safe.
I love
Where
it. I'm like, where can I put? I need to make some space on my table for
I
that.
imagined like, he realized halfway through that he forgot something super important, and he goes on this like Mission Impossible level a mission to open the safe, and he realizes he can't. But that's a pretty strict enforcement mechanism to exert that kind of control over that device. Have you ever heard of anybody doing something like that?
No. I mean, I've definitely more heard, people putting it in silent mode or, do not disturb or airplane mode or whatever. But I feel like there's still this attachment to the concept that what if there's an emergency? And I think that's one of the
There
reasons
are
that people.
almost no real emergencies.
I understand that, but I think that a lot of people stay more connected, and that may be an excuse that they use. Is
Yeah.
that, well, I what if something happens? And I remember a time, maybe I'm dating myself, where if you wanted to talk to somebody that you weren't standing in front of, you had to be there when they called.
Right.
And then a little later after that, we had the opportunity to leave messages, but you still had to be home to listen to your messages.
Yeah, I
you know.
think you could get a version of that safe that you can actually open early, but just the act of putting it into the safe and putting a timer
That's
on
some
kind of
serious
makes you.
intention. It's
Yeah,
it's intention setting.
yeah. I don't think you need the version that won't open early in order to have that kind of device work for you. For me, one of the changes that reminded me of is keeping the phone away from me, like when I'm watching a movie.
Yeah. And
That is,
he mentioned that.
yeah. So like making sure it's at least on the other side of the room, if not in a different room. And when I first started doing that, I was actually shocked at how much better it made me feel. And it wasn't like a high or anything like that. It was just better. I just felt better not having that darn phone anywhere near me while I was trying to enjoy a movie.
Yeah, and doing that with conversation at dinner. I always have my phone somewhere near, but I'm not a reactive, responsive person when it comes to my phone. So I do tend to keep it kind of away. I did notice. There was a time where I noticed that I was using it all the time for distraction, and I was using it. I'm like frustrated with something, so I'll just look at my phone, which if I'm being really honest and aware of my use, it only increases my level of stress because what, people posting politics and all these things that are being entered into my world that I really don't want, especially when I'm feeling a little, stressed. And
Yeah.
one thing that he said, and I love this, he was talking about how much more heightened his awareness was after the retreat of how he was feeling when he used his phone, which, he said he felt more stress. He woke up in the morning and he would go to his phone and, dependent on what notification was there, he was kind of held hostage. It was a gamble. It was a gamble of what he was going to see in his phone and how that was going to set up his day. He didn't say those words, but that's kind of what he was getting at. He'd hold his breath before he turned his phone on and looked at it in the morning. And
I still do that, and when
but
he was
the
talking about
awareness,
anxiety from email in the morning, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what set of changes I did in my life to help address that. I mean, it's much better now, but I used to have that in just all the time, and it was an awful feeling checking email first thing in the morning. But I still get a little bit of that, because I mentioned in the interview, I put my phone into do not disturb mode all evening, all night, and then in the morning, while I'm exercising and stuff. So then when I'm ready to sit down and start work, one of the first things I do is enable notifications on my phone. And I just steel myself for like some crazy, stressful Skype message from one of the team or one of the vendors, like, oh, the website died last night. It's been offline for 12 hours. Where have you been?
But when
So I
you're
could totally relate to that.
Yeah, and I have to ask, when you allow yourself the space to turn off notifications for a good chunk of time, do you find yourself more able to handle that stress?
Um,
The answer is yes. I mean, no.
no, I mean, obviously, I feel like it. I don't. No, I don't think that's the. I think turning off notifications leads to and exerting that control over my schedule and my personal attention is part of an overall set of lifestyle choices that leaves me more prepared to have less anxiety when working and to work more effectively and to have much less anxiety in those points of time when I'm not working. So that is my answer.
That's total. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
If you're more prepared, that's great.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
great.
still
And
totally
less anxiety in the times when you're not working is paramount. I mean, that's paramount to your good mental health and to, preserving what's important, which is your personal time. That's sacred. And I think that we forget sometimes how sacred that time is and that we do sometimes need to fight for it by, making some hard changes. They're, like keep the phone away.
Well, Steph, if our listeners engage in discussions as good as this one after listening to this episode, then I know it was worth it. I'm really glad we covered this topic, and I want to thank once again Yannick for coming on the show. Well, that does it for today's episode. Remember, if you like this show and want to hear more, please subscribe. The Healthier Tech Podcast, available on all major podcasting platforms. And if you have a moment, please also leave a review. Reviews are really critical to help more people find this podcast and learn about the important and undercovered topics that we discuss. Also, you can learn more and sign up for our mailing list to get notified when we have new interviews, webinars, ebooks, and sales at shieldyourbody.com. You can also just click that link in the show notes. While you're there at shieldyourbody.com, you can check out our world-class catalog of laboratory-tested EMF and 5G protection products. Don't forget to use promo code POD to save 15% on your first order from shieldyourbody.com with free shipping throughout North America and Europe. Until next time, I'm R. Blank, and I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Healthier Tech Podcast. Always remember to shield your body.